everybody, welcome to the Little Pod of Horrors, episode 23. Yes, that's right, I actually remembered which number we're on for once. The best idea since premarital sex on Halloween. This week, I am joined by a guest, and his name is Matt.
Hello.
Now, Matt, do you have a podcasting pedigree you can throw at people?
I do, it's an impressive pedigree. I did one about 3 years ago and never did it again.
And did anybody hear this podcast?
I think they may have. I think we got one listener in Canada once, and that was our highlight.
What was the name of this fated podcast, which I don't remember, actually?
I don't think anyone does, actually. We got one email about a year ago, and it's like the first email we ever got, and we hadn't done the show in about 3 years. It's Cult Fiction. I think it's still around the internet somewhere.
Oh, I remember. Of course I remember.
Yes.
So... But other than that, Matt is a very good friend of mine, and we often cinema frequent together these days.
Yeah.
Now I live close enough to do so.
Yeah.
And happens to be a bit of a horror buff, and was kind enough to give me some rather obscure Japanese horror movies recently, so which I will be watching soon.
Yeah.
And hopefully your return to the show, we'll be talking about those.
Yeah. Some of them are obscure, some of them not as much. Some of them are pretty horrific, even by my standards. So there we go. It just shows what they're doing these days.
We'll do a twisted Japanese special. That'll be good.
Yeah,
I look forward to that. So Matt has basically come to my rescue because it's taken me so long to get round to doing this. But the challenge issued to us by the Black Dog podcast after my appearance on there to try and defend Split Second, I was tasked with watching Snoop Dogg's Hood of Horrors. And I thought, oh, okay, that'll be a laugh, you know. And I watched it some weeks ago now, pretty quick after the challenge. The issue has been getting somebody else to watch it in the first place, and then that person being willing to come on here and talk with me about it. And thankfully, Matt is one such person.
I loved it. I've got to say, I loved it.
Shh, save it for the end.
Save it for the end.
Right, so... I was initially just going to do it as a little sideshow special thing, but I realised me and Matt got so much to talk about otherwise. This is a full episode. There's no two ways about it. So we're going to do our usual Little Pod of Horrors format at the beginning here, and just talk about stuff we've been looking at and watching, and general just horror chit chat really. So Matt, I'm going to pass over to you. What has grabbed your attention recently?
Grabbed my attention recently. Well, I know there's one we've both recently seen and really enjoyed. I'm going to say one which I saw and really disliked a lot, and I didn't expect to. And I've got to say, it's Godzilla.
Yeah, I mean, it's a monster movie. Comes under horror if you look at any horror magazine. So we could talk about that.
We can talk about that. It's horrifically bad. I love monster films. I have for such a long time. And I love Godzilla films. I watched a load of them. Like the really bad English dubbed ones from like the 1960s. I love them a lot.
They're not the same if they're not dubbed either.
I know, because because it's this kind of like, and also the clip reels they do to sum up the rest of the films at the beginning of them are bad as their own right, and then someone has a credited for those films, saying, how can you get credited for that? You basically just like Windows Movie Makered it in. But it's...
Does it have a blue background and white text scrolling across it?
Or it's a freeze frame and wipe to right hand side, and then Godzilla spins in the middle or something. And it's like, I could do better on, like, I don't know.
I must use every editing transition on my palette, or it is not a complete piece of work.
God, I love the 60s and the 70s. But I've got to say, I put on Facebook that I thought it was the cock teaser monster films.
It was a bit.
That it was... Spoilers, but Godzilla's not the only monster in this. And every time they came together, they would pan to the less interesting human characters.
Yeah.
And it was just... Because Not Walter Cranston. Why did I call him? I mixed his names together.
Walter White, Bryan Cranston. You mixed the two. That's perfectly
person.
Acceptable either way. Yeah, perfectly acceptable.
Bryan Cranston, I thought he was going to be a huge part of the film.
Me too. And
thought he's such a great actor. Well, I've only seen him in two other things, which is Breaking Bad and Malcolm in the Middle. Yeah. And there's two different... There's such great characters he does in them. And... Alright, spoiler alert.
No, seriously, this is one big fucking spoiler.
He dies really quickly.
I might have to put an alert in, actually, because some people won't have seen this.
Oh, my God. I'm so bad at this, but there we go. Sorry. And, yeah, and they bring his son into it, and he was such a dull character. There was some great moments in it, like when Godzilla did his blue fire breath down a certain creature's mouth. That was pretty cool. But it didn't flow right for me, and I was really bored. And I kind of knew when I sat down it was going to be like this, because it's not such an old film, and I was the only one in the screen.
Really?
And it was a huge screen, and I was the only one in there. And the people kept on coming in to see if I'd left yet, just because they wanted to shut the screen down. They told me that afterwards. They thought I was going to walk out.
Oh,
because
really?
apparently they had loads of people walking out of it.
Jeez, didn't realize it was that bad.
And it was, I didn't think it was that bad, but it helped I could lie across the seats. That really did help. And I could shout at the screen if I wanted to, because no one else was in there.
Did you run around at one point with your pants on your head?
I should have thought of that. I took my shoes off, I was lying down thinking, oh, it was great. But
You broke all the codes of conduct because it didn't matter.
I opened up my bag of sweets really loudly. I enjoyed that, just going like.
Did you text a couple
away.
of people as well, just to do the full whammy?
I'm one of these people who gets really scared about turning my phone on during a film. I was in it was Port Solent down in Portsmouth, and it's a really older cinema. But if they think you've got your phone out, they put a little spotlight on you.
Brilliant.
And when I was younger, and it scares me to this day, because I think it was the second Lord of the Rings film. They put the spotlight on everyone to let us know they were watching.
Brilliant.
And it added 20 minutes onto the film.
You know what that reminds me of? That reminds me of that episode of The Simpsons where they're like, "Okay, watch this. This the cult leader thing in the field."
Oh, leader.
Yeah, and they're just like, obviously, watch this video. You're free to leave at any point, and they stand up to leave, and they just throw the spotlight on them until they sit down.
Are you okay, sir? No, I'm just itching my button. Oh, that's fine.
Well,
maybe that's where they got the idea from.
Yeah, probably. I mostly enjoyed it, actually, but I did get... it basically had War of the Worlds, the remake with Tom Cruise syndrome, which is basically how he just happens to be, coincidentally, at every large piece of story to do with the bigger monster sort of thing, and conveniently just happens to turn up at the house of the person he was supposed to be seeing at the end. And it was just the coincidences of how this guy just always seemed to end up in the same place as Godzilla. It was just... It was all too convenient, and that took me out of it. I do get the thing about it cutting away from the monsters. And I think that was done to sort of leave you wanting more, because at the end it doesn't. It lets you have the big fight at the end, and it doesn't cut away.
That was really good, and it looked really... And I got to say, Godzilla as the monster looked fantastic.
Yeah, he was really
I liked the way he looked, and I may or may not have an action figure of him already. But there's demonster arts that they do in Japan, and he was a little expensive, but he's beautiful. Brilliant. Honestly, he's wonderful.
Well, I allowed myself to sort of carry it. I was getting a bit miffed with, and when they do the halo drop, which is beautifully shot, amazing scene.
Oh, wonderful!
But they're down there, and I'm like, oh, that's kind of coincidental. Look, they've all met up, and it's close by, and his wife's there, like she's been waiting around, isn't she? And I said, if he bumps into his wife on the street, I'm fucking out. That's it. I'm done with this movie. And I was so glad that they didn't do that, because that would have been the last straw. But sort of during that big fight, and you just see his tail light up, and I did the squee. I was like, yes.
Yeah, that was pretty awesome. That was cool. I'll give them that. That was pretty impressive. But I don't know what the thing was with Halo jumps are. Ever since was it like Transformers: Revenge of the Fallen?
Balls.
They spent all that money on the Halo drum, which went on far too long. Everyone seems to be doing it since then. It's like, it looked cool in Transformers.
Well, yeah, I suppose the Halo drop itself was fine, but that end sequence to that movie was interminable. It was. I don't get me started on Transformers. It's not horror. It's horror in how bad it is. Actually,
it's horrific.
I saw the trailer for the next one, and I'm like, you're still going to get my money. It's annoying because I have to see.
I know, it looks great. It looks great.
He's riding Grimlock, for fuck's sake. We have to see what happens there. But if Bay does it to me again, I'm hoping the next time I will have the fortitude to say, no, you're not having any more of my money.
Well, Michael Bay's kind of done what M. Night Shyamalan has done. He's turned his own name into a swear word. It's kind of like Michael Bay.
Shout at the sky. So talking about codes of conduct and cinema movies, the other movie both of us caught within a couple of days of each other, which I was really looking forward to for a while, was Oculus, starring Karen Gillan from Doctor Who fame.
Hello again. You must be hungry.
Tim is a healthy adult who represents no danger to himself or anyone else, and I believe he should be discharged.
Hey, little brother. I found it.
What do you mean?
We only have a few days
A few days for what?
to keep our promise and kill it. My name is Kaylee Ann Russell. The purpose of today's experiment is to prove that the object behind me is responsible for at least 45 deaths in the 4 centuries of its recorded existence.
We got a new home, so we get new furniture.
It's a bit ostentatious, though, don't you think?
Hey, Dad, who's that lady in your office today?
What lady? We were just kids. We made up a scary story so we wouldn't have to accept the fact that our father was a sick man who killed our...
Mom?
Why don't we just end it right now and smash the damn thing?
First, I intend to prove that the people I've just described were victims of the supernatural force that resides in that mirror.
You want to redeem the family name?
You promised me you'd never forget what really happened.
I was 10 years old.
Daddy?
Tim.
Snap out of it!
It's not real. Oh my God. I've met my demons, and they have many. I've seen the devil. He is me.
Now, going into the cinema, it wasn't packed, and we sat in our usual place, sort of towards the middle, a few rows down from any other human beings, because people are annoying. And there's a bunch of like teenage girls sitting behind us, and they're loud in the trailers, and I'm thinking, this isn't going to end well. But I'll cut them some slack. When the film starts, maybe they'll shut the fuck up. Anyway, so it gets into the movie, and a few scares happen, and they're actually, when there's a scary bit, and they laugh and they giggle and they say some stuff, and you let them calm down, it's fine, and you get into that. Right towards the end, the crux point of this movie, they just start having a completely normal, well, not normal, a slightly loud conversation, like you would as you were walking down the street talking to each other, and I'd had enough. Normally I'm too chicken to say anything. So I just turned around and said...
I'm like that. I say I don't want to say anything in case they turn up and they're like 8 foot tall.
Yeah, I mean, they could have had huge boyfriends with them, but honestly, I was that pissed off I didn't care. I just went, do you think you keep your voices down, please? Fuck's sake. And I wasn't going to swear.
We've all wanted to do it.
I didn't get a round of applause. I was actually quite disappointed. But they shut up and they didn't make a peep again until the end of the movie, and then they sort of sloped out quietly. And I did sort of expect to come out of the cinema and just have a couple of bruises waiting for me, but thankfully not. But
I kind of had the opposite of you, that I saw it about 20 past 11 in the morning, and I went in there, and it was a huge screen, and I was the only one in there. I was thinking, oh, I can relax again.
Yeah.
But then a guy and a girl come in, and about halfway through the film, I hear this sucking noise.
Oh no!
And I thought, I look at the speakers, because they did the thing in the film where they put certain noises through certain speakers, like they do. And I was thinking, where's that coming from? I turn around, and they're about 3/4 of the way to intercourse. And like, oh my dear God.
Oh my word.
And it's like, not this film. Why? And it's like, they didn't even stop us. Like, did you just want a quiet place to have coitus? And I was like, but I didn't say anything. I just stood there really awkwardly. And it's kind of like eyes forward, and it's like, because if I turned around, they'd call me a pervert.
Yeah, exactly.
So,
Do you know, I had a very similar thing yesterday. I had a gap between jobs, so I pulled into a largish car park, and it was sort of warm. So I drove to the back of the car park where there were some overhanging trees, so basically my van wouldn't turn into an oven.
yeah.
And there was a little like Corsa in the corner, and I sort of pulled up, and you see movement out of the corner of your eye, don't you? So I turned around and looked at the car next to me, and there's basically a girl in the passenger seat facing the back of the car, and sort of looking down, and I'm like,
oh god.
she had clothes on, but I mean, you couldn't see the other occupant of the car, and I'm like, I don't know if they were up to anything. At the point at which I saw that, I just sort of read, okay, I'm doing paperwork. I didn't look again.
Because if you moved your van, they'd know that you knew.
Yeah.
And it's like...
And they probably, I didn't want to keep looking, so I looked like, because I didn't want to look like some kind of pervert, so I just eyes forward, write the paperwork. And then,
we're too British, you know.
I know. She'd just gone over and knocked on the window and, hey! But actually, I think it was perfectly innocent. I think it looked to me like she turned around and was kneeling on the passenger seat to be more comfortable, because he had his chair fully reclined back and was just having a rest. So, because it's a pretty busy garden centre, this place. I'm thinking you wouldn't go there in daylight for a bit of umpy pumpy, as Elton McManus would say. So
you never know these days. Even people my generation, I don't know what they're getting up to.
No.
So.
Oh
well.
Bit of fun, innit? Anyway, Oculus.
It was a really funny thing is I knew very little about this film going in. I'd heard the general story, but I knew nothing about it. I didn't even know who was in it. And when they came on screen, it's like, oh my dear God, this film's going to be amazing. And to be honest, I love Starbuck. And it's like, when she was on it, it was like Karen Gillan's in it, she was in it. That kind of, Katie Sackhoff, kind of, I knew. Only person who slightly bothered me was the guy who played the dad. Looked a bit too much like Danny Dyer.
He does, doesn't he? I always think that.
It's like, I looked at him, oh my God, American Danny Dyer. English Danny Dyer is bad enough. It kept them. It's the really bad thing is it kept on bringing me out the film more than the sucking noises. And it was like,
well, the thing that worried me about bringing me out of the film was when, okay, Karen Gillan's American. We have to go with this apparently. And at first it seemed really odd, and I think the mark of a good actor is I got about 10 minutes into the film, and I forgot about the accent completely. So she sold me.
The accent was good, actually. Yeah. I think the accent was remarkably well done, better than a lot of other people have done them recently.
But I mean, if you think about it, so many British actors do such a good job of that. I always found it remarkable in The Walking Dead how the two main protagonists at one point were both pulling off these amazing accents and were both British actors. So
I never even realised they were British actors.
Didn't you? You didn't know David Morrissey was?
No.
Oh, okay.
I didn't. So his performance was even better than I thought. Then
he was in a Doctor Who Christmas special once where he had the knowledge of the Doctor and thought he was the Doctor.
Oh God, yeah. I remember him now.
He was a bit more portly then. Because I think he lost a fair chunk of weight to be in The Walking Dead.
To be in The Governor. But I was just thinking, I think the scale of bad English American accents is Emma Watson in Perks of Being a Wallflower, because that was a really bad American accent. And like I think Karen Gillan did a great job with this. I forgot about it as well. So
you see, I'll probably never watch that, especially after what Gordon said on this show about it. So
yeah, no, it's not a cheery film. No.
So Oculus story. Guy is in mental institution. She starts at an auction house, and Karen Gillan's there, and she's looking at this really expensive mirror that's being bid on. She's like, it's a spooky mirror movie. And basically, story is when they were kids, something nasty happened around their house to do with this mirror. And her brother has been in a mental institution until his 21st birthday, and you see him basically getting his parole hearing to get out. She picks him up, and how you doing? Everything great? He's he feels like he's all fixed, and then she's like, right, you got to help me. We got to kill it. And that's the start of the movie. I thought, brilliant.
Well, I really liked, at the beginning it's got like the flashback where it shows like an old like a man walking around the house, and then them to his kids.
Yeah.
And it's actually him in its dream.
Yes.
But then they glance left and they see the creature like for 10 seconds. and that just really set it up for me. It's like, yeah, this is going to be a great film. And yeah, it was really well done at the beginning, actually. So it really, I think, kept me with it.
Well, the thing is that the thing I found remarkable about this movie is I'm trying my hand at writing a few things, and I don't want to say too much because it might all amount to nothing. But
hey, I remember Boz Narrator.
Oh, do you?
I do remember.
Yeah, for those who don't know, I started a little side podcast because I got so inspired by the likes of Mike Bennett and Scott Sigler, and it was you that put me onto Mike Bennett, wasn't it? It was.
Yeah.
Anyway, and this serializing books sort of thing, and I started to. I'd written part of a thing I was trying to write, and I decided to just record the first couple of episodes, put them out. And then the idea was I'd keep writing the book and podcasting it as I went. And I realised I didn't have the time, the skill, or I don't know, it just wasn't coming together really. And then I listened to a Scott Sigler, one of these talks he gives on how to succeed in this. And he basically said, whatever you do, write it, rewrite it, write it again, then edit, then write it again before you even think about podcasting it. And I was like, yeah, fair point.
Boz Narrator.
Hello, good people of the interweb, and welcome to my latest podcasting venture.
Because Mike Bennett does that thing where he writes it and then records it. He's never got the whole thing entirely finished.
Yeah, that's amazing.
And he learned that was the problem because the delays on his podcast are unreal. Great story, Underwood and Flinch, but there's months between episodes. So that's the problem. Hey, I liked your podcast back in the day.
Thank you.
There we go. Not just because you invited me on your show and all that.
Okay. Appreciate it. Talk about writing it. The way this film is put together, because what it basically does, they end up at the house with the mirror, and she's got all this gear set up because she knows something gribbly about the mirror, and she wants to record it and prove that all the shit that happened to them when they were kids was because of a supernatural entity, and then they weren't crazy and killed their parents. So that's not a spoiler, by the way. That's pretty obvious from the outset. So then this thing's, you think, oh yeah, it's the whole sort of, it's going to turn into like a found footage thing, and creepy stuff's going to start happening around the house. Yeah. But what it actually does is it starts to intercut between the present and the past. And the way it does that is brilliantly done. And from a story writing point of view, even a storyboarding point of view, some of the transitions from future to past. So, they turn around, somebody walks past, and all of a sudden you're back in the future, and these lovely transitions between the two. There's no like really hokey film grain to go, oh look, we're in the past now. It didn't have to do that. It's really quite subtle, and I just thought it was a masterclass of.
Oh, it was really well done, and it was, what I really liked is it was like they had like the past characters and the future characters, and then they like replaced one with the other. And it's kind of, they merged it together. It's really worked really well, and it was a better way of finding stuff out than being told, "Oh, this is exactly what happened." And it's almost like they were like, it's where the I can't remember what the older son was called. The son was called, but it was almost like he was remembering it while it was happening, and that's what the cuts were. And it was really, really well done. And I don't think I've seen something similar like this before, and that's why I really liked it.
Yeah, I thought that when they first flashed back, I think, oh great, so now we're going to get the whole, this is the past, and then this is what happened in the past. Then we'll jump back to the future, and then we'll see what happens here. And it was like, no, it just kept intercutting between the two, and the two child actors they had that played them when they were younger were phenomenal.
Yeah, as kid actors go, they were pretty amazing.
Wow.
And I also liked what they did as well is, how they had like the boy who was trying to justify what happened and do like all the alternative ways. Actually, I didn't see this, I saw that at the same time. That was really well done, and the acting was top notch, and it was really impressive.
And there's always the skeptical voice in anything with a supernatural element, and I thought that was going to get trite and a bit hokey as well. And I ended up, I was nervous about where they were going with it, but then what they do in that he talks to her, gets her to the point of believing all the psychobabble been put into his head, that it was all childhood imaginations, and this can manifest as that, and this is what you believe, and he's going, look, the plants aren't dead, and all this kind of thing. And then at the point he convinces her, that's where everything goes batshit crazy, and I loved that. I don't want to say too much more because I really want people to go and see this movie. Or unfortunately, it'll have a really short life at the cinema. By the time this comes out, it's probably long gone. But when the DVD comes out, you've got to see this film. And the bit that got me was the end of the movie. The director's name came up, and I thought, that's really familiar. So I got the IMDb out, and some people may remember quite a while ago I mentioned a film called Absentia, sorry, and I saw it on my iPhone on a plane, and it's quite small, but they had two of the best scares I think I've ever seen in a horror movie. But the thing I loved about it was the way it was shot, and those of you who know Tristan O'Field, who is director of White Lily, which is in production at the moment, who we spammed the hell out of you all to give money to that project. I emailed him and I said, look, you got to see this film because the shooting style of it reminds me of you. It's like your style. I think you'll like this. And he didn't hate it. I mean, it's not a perfect film, but stylistically I loved it. It's got this scare in it, basically. There's a white figure of a guy just standing facing the wall, and our protagonist comes up, gets closer, reaches a hand out to touch him on the shoulder, and that's where you expect the horrific face spins round at you scare. Okay, you're like, I've seen all this before. But what actually happens is when the hand just about to touch him, his hands, which are on the wall in front of him, like up in front of him, basically they invert. So the fingers come forwards, the arms come out of the arms, and the face comes through the back of the head. So it doesn't.
I may have to see this.
He doesn't turn round. He just all of a sudden is the other way round and has just black pits for eyes and a black pit for a mouth. It goes whoa, forward like that. I'll tell you, if I'd been in a cinema, I mean, never got a cinema release, but if I'd been at home with the lights off watching that, I'd probably shat a brick. The only reason I didn't is because I had probably had a fucking Ryanair announcement bleating in the background, and I was pushing my fingers into my earbuds so I could hear what was going on my tiny little iPhone screen. But yeah, otherwise I probably would have had kittens.
I probably will have to watch that now. That does sound pretty impressive.
It's actually a really clever concept for that film as well. It doesn't flow particularly well, but it is really, I think, well thought out. And for I think it's his debut, or it's his featured debut. It's really, really good. Of course, now I've completely blanked on what this guy's name is.
Well, I'm just looking at the Wikipedia page. I didn't realise Oculus is based on a book. I didn't realise that, and I can't actually find much about it when I'm just doing a bit of Googling. So just I might be interested in reading that, though, 'cause it says Oculus Chapter 3, The Man with the Plan.
Okay.
So, interested what the rest would be. I was just going to say, one of my other favourite things about the film is really small. I know some people might not like it. I really like what they did with the eyes.
Yes, I did.
I think, that I won't ruin it, but in the last scene, when they look back in the house and all the eyes are looking out, that was amazing.
Yeah.
So beautiful and so simple.
Yeah.
Rather than having some like tentacles or something like that, just having that one piece it made it for me. Not overdoing it, just enough to make you realise that person's not entirely human, kind of thing.
Yeah, you see it in the trailer, and you don't really clock what it is until you actually watch the movie. But all it is a complete mirror. It's just mirrors instead of eyeballs, and it looks amazingly creepy. I mean, there's other bits I want to talk about, but it'd be massive spoilers, and I don't want to do that. So we should probably move on from there. The director's name is Mike Flanagan. And just bang up job. I'll be watching anything this guy does, to be honest.
Oh, it's based on a short film by Flanagan. Oh.
Yeah, I meant to watch that actually when I realised, because it actually says on the credits at the end, based on a short film by Mike Flanagan. So.
Because I'm looking at this, and it doesn't actually seem that this actually didn't take that long to make. That actually, the actual filming, it says only took a couple of weeks, which I can imagine that if they did it like back to back, because it's not actually that many. There's not that many practical effects. I don't know this. This process more than I do, but it just seems quite amazing that couple of weeks, because it looks very good and the production values are really high, and there's a couple of Katie Sackhoff bits. And that was pretty gruesome, because let's just say I have a thing about removal of teeth in films, and nails, they really make me cringe.
Right.
So this was not the film for me. That's the one. Arms, legs being chopped off, fine. People removing fingernails and teeth, I can't do it.
That is that is the limit of it, isn't it? I mean, that's what makes Bugs so hard to watch. That's quite funny. I mean, I would have thought from a shooting point of view, but then seeing how clever they were about everything else, if you've got your storyboard, you've got your shooting plan one way, but your edit is something else entirely. So they could have shot like huge entire long scenes, every which angle, whatever, that one day, then the next scene, the next day, you know, from start to finish, this location, and obviously being all in one house, that makes life easier as well, makes things much quicker. And then, you know, the complexity comes in knowing where you're going to cut from and to and what your transitions are. And I think that the pre-planning for shooting and editing this is the key, and they must have done such a good job of that to be able to turn it around so fast. But yeah, I'll be gushing a lot. I mean, there was a moment. Funny enough, when I come out of an amazing horror film, usually the first thing I do is text Tristan, and I said, "Dude, Oculus, fucking amazing!" And he's like, "I'm literally just walking out of Oculus." Okay. And he loved it and hated it. He said at the same time because I don't know if did you ever see Sinister?
I did.
Now
yeah.
Sinister lost me at the point there were lots of little kids all around the house.
Yeah.
He moved here, there's a little kid, and he's got a slightly grey face. Doesn't look scary at all. And basically, because they just started showing you loads, all the tension went out of that movie. Just killed it for me at that point. And he had a similar thing where something similar happens in this movie, which I can't talk about because it'd be spoilerific. But I didn't get the same feeling. I thought it worked quite
I didn't
well.
either.
But that's horror. It's subjective, and yeah. But we did then go on for about half an hour. What about this bit? What about this bit? Because from a filmmaking point of view, there's some really good scenes in this.
My thought that I had in the film is they locked up the wrong sibling in the mental institution. That was my overriding thing. They made a mistake there. Other way round, you might have been cool, fellas. But, it's like they made the mistake as the American mental health institution. Another right cause by you. So there we go.
I think it comes down to the fact of which one was held responsible for a murder.
Yeah, maybe that might have come into it, but that might be a bit spoilery.
Well, I think it's pretty obvious, but anyway.
Yeah, I've got to say that boy's one unlucky guy.
Oh, really? Yeah. But we really should stop. We are going to end up spoiling something.
Okay, go see it, because a lot of people I know saw it, said that the screens they went into, there wasn't a lot of people in it, and that's really disappointing.
We need to support horror in the cinema, or everything is going to go straight to DVD. Which in a way is nice, because we can get hold of it a lot quicker when it comes out, but...
And it often ends up in the £3 bargain bucket, which I enjoy.
But, you know, I like seeing horror at the cinema. It was designed for the cinema, and that's what it should be.
Oculus won't be as good as home. I'll put that out there. It won't be as good as home. Having a screen with the speakers and the big screen, I think, really has something to it.
Absolutely.
Maybe having people not making out the seat next to me would have helped, but there we go.
So, did you hear the vinegar strokes, or was it covered by a scream from the film?
I won't say, but apparently he's the best there ever was.
Wow.
And
so I've got competition then.
Let's just say at one point, the point I was going to say something is when the moaning, I couldn't hear the film over the moaning, and I have a very loud people who follow me on Facebook now. I have a big problem with my next door neighbour, and for the same issues.
Right, okay.
And even I couldn't even block out of all my experience.
I was like, so you've basically been mentally conditioning yourself to not hear sex noises, and then you go to the cinema and get that.
They're trying to wear me down. They're trying to wear me down, trying to get me down. Maybe one day you might see me on the news doing I've done some horror film killing spree, and you'll know why. They drove me mad.
This man watches porn with the sound off. Right, yeah.
So I was going to say, some people are saying probably thinking first world problems, and I'm sorry, but there we go.
Awesome. So have you been watching anything not in the cinema that you want to mention? Or?
Well, I recently got Netflix in the US, and I was watching a couple of things, and I'm gonna group them together because I don't know if you've been watching on BBC Three. Did you watch In the Flesh?
I've seen the first episode, but my box screwed up. So I've got episode 2, but not 3.
Well, I won't spoil it too much then, but it's this kind of, it's not really, it's a zombie TV show, but not really, if you know what I mean. It's not like hundreds of them milling around. It's just, let's call it faux zombie films. And I saw 2 on Netflix that I thought were quite interested, which was, did you watch Contracted when it was, have you seen Contracted?
Don't think so.
It's, right.
Film or TV
considering what I was just talking about, it's about a woman who has a one-night stand at the party, and basically it gets an STD that turns her into... She starts decomposing.
Seen the trailer. Yes, I know what you're talking about. I knew it rang a bell. I saw the trailer only a couple of weeks ago.
Yeah. What I was saying about... I had this thing about teeth and nails falling out. This was another bad one. And it was... So, yeah, and it's... And it was that. And I also watched... It's called The Returned as well. Which, the only reason I watched it was because it's got a couple of people in from Lost Girl, which was something I like to watch.
Right.
And it was a zombie film, but it wasn't a zombie film. And I watched these things back to back, and I just kind of realised that I think the zombie genre is really dead these days.
Right.
If this is what we have, and they're good enough, but they're just not really interesting.
I have a film for you.
What is it?
We'll talk about it later.
We'll talk about it later.
When you return to the show, we will talk about this film.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Apart from that, just general Netflix surfing is nothing really horror centric.
Okay.
I've been rewatching The Walking Dead because that's all, and I've been enjoying that. And I forgot how young everyone looked, even though the show's not been going on that long. And I forgot how different it was at the beginning. How they do. I forgot they used to play music in the middle of the shows and stuff like that, like a lot more.
Yeah.
And I forgot how like I've always thought the zombies were really good in The Walking Dead, but I forgot how good they weren't at the beginning.
Oh, really? I thought they started strong.
I think to what they are now and what we kind of expect now, they're not as strong. And I noticed a couple of blips in it.
Oh, interesting.
I noticed like a couple of false steps and stuff like that, and I noticed there was a zombie on the floor, and a guy kind of pushes himself up and then down again in the first episode, and I've just been rewatching that. Nothing really to report on, unfortunately.
The turning point in the prosthetics on Walking Dead for me was when they first go in and take the prison, and you got all the prison guards, and he pulls the gas mask off that zombie, and all its face skin goes with the mask. That was so well done. I like a good face rip-off. So that was brilliant.
That reminds me of that really bad Nicolas Cage film, Face Off.
Nah. Yeah, it wasn't ripped off there. The next best one to that is actually Piranha 3D with the boat propeller.
Oh, God.
Because the girl gets a hair caught in the boat propeller, and the guy's trying to start the engine, and you're thinking, it's going to pull her head off, you know, because you think, I know what you're going to do next, because it's a schlocky horror movie. So, sure, he starts the engine, pulls all the hair, and it just rips her scalp and her face off of her skull. And I just laughed out loud. I'm thinking, I'm a sick puppy. What's really funny, though, is Lavinia now laughs out loud at things like that, where she never used to.
You've converted
I've created a monster. I can't remember what it was the other day. We were watching something, and something particularly gruesome happened, and she just did that. It's like a bark laugh that I do when something like that goes and go, and she did exactly that. I just cracked up laughing. Oh, it was brilliant.
Oh, she's been buzzed.
She has been buzzed. Actually, in Oculus, there was one jump scare moment actually, and she did the machine gun jump, which I haven't seen for years.
I haven't seen that either for ages.
It's the you just sort of you jump 3 times all at once. It was like,
you'll have to tell me later what she did.
I can't remember. That's the problem.
I'm trying to think what was.
Oh yeah, I'll tell you later. I've remembered. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
Very funny. So anyway, I shouldn't do that. Yeah, I mean, I haven't had a lot of time sort of beyond that to watch many films recently, which is a bit frustrating, but just been really busy. One thing I have done on my Facebook feed and Twitter, and more noticeably probably is the Little Pod of Horrors Twitter feed. We've been following Scream Magazine, or screamhorrormag.com is the website, and I keep seeing like little articles they've got and the shots of their front covers, and I just felt I didn't fall for it. I say last week I just gave in, like, right, I'm subscribing. They do a really good deal. You get 2 issues when you subscribe, and that sort of covers you for the year, and they give you a free DVD as well of their choice. And I received it this week, and I haven't. I mean, there's a lot of writing in here. I mean, I know it's a magazine. There should be, but
yeah.
I mean, these articles are so in depth. But I love it. They cover books, games, DVD reviews, and that's exactly what I need, really. Because sometimes I just sit there looking at the piles of films on streaming services and go, it's a lottery, isn't it? It's the whole 3-star lottery, because horror films always get a rating of 3. So to read a horror mag,
2.5 mainly. I see 2.5 a lot on some things these days.
So obviously these reviews here are by horror aficionados. So when they say 3 stars, well, yeah, that's a 3-star movie. Like Paranormal Activity, the marked ones, for example. Or Pumpkinhead 2, that's a 3-star movie. But there's a couple that I haven't heard of, and there's one here called Wither, which they say is like the Swedish Evil Dead, and that it's an absolutely unrelenting gore fest, and it's a 5-star 18-rated horror movie.
Now I need to see this.
The DVD cover looks like the remake of the Evil Dead DVD cover, and I'm like, that is the very next movie I'm running out and getting. So thank you very much, Scream Magazine. I will give more feedback once I've managed to read a few of the articles. They've got interviews with Dario Argento. They've got interviews about Wolf Creek 2, which is coming out later this year.
I might have to look this up. Just talking about Evil Dead, this is a really big tangent, right. I'm very sorry. I was watching, there's an auction show, which is my guilty pleasure on Channel 4, called Four Rooms, where someone goes in and they try and sell off something to these dealers. And one of the original, like the old horror movie posters, like, the big illustrated ones.
Oh, yeah.
Well, it was a guy who did them for the Evil Dead films. And he had like big in frames. I think it was Evil Dead 2. They had it on.
Oh, they're worth so much money.
And yeah, he sold them. Didn't sell them for a lot of money, but he's also saying that he sold them for £1,000. But the guy's gonna help him do a book of all his art.
Oh, okay.
So he's going to be doing a lot of like the classic film posters, and I had a look at it earlier. And it's coming out later this year. Looks very impressive.
Interesting.
And I love all those old posters are really cool, especially for the Evil Dead covers are great.
Yeah.
And the saying is tangent over.
Well, a while back I posted. I think it might be on our Facebook group actually. If you go and look, but there's a lovely little sort of comic retro shop near Forbidden Planet in London, and we went in there, and they sell old movie posters that used to be in the big glass frames at bus stops and stuff like that, and they had the original Evil Dead 2 trapdoor poster, and it was something like 600 quid or something like that.
I can imagine.
And I was just like, oh, that is incredible. So yeah, I've seen what they can go for. Absolutely astounding. Right, I suppose we can't put it off any longer.
I loved this. What are you talking about? It was brilliant.
Let's talk about Hood of Horrors.
Can I just say, I've never listened to Snoop Dogg's music in my life.
Really?
I didn't really know who he was. I knew who he was because he does those really stupid car insurance adverts at the moment. And when he's in the lowrider, and the guy who doesn't have a car pretends he's in a lowrider. Before this is as much as I knew about Snoop Dogg.
Yeah, some would say he might have sold out recently, but the thing you'll learn about Snoop Dogg is if he can make a buck, he'll do it. And this was his attempt at the horror genre. He's made porn movies. He was in...
I made the mistake of Googling that after you told me.
And he was also in the remake of Starsky and Hutch as Huggy Bear, and he was fucking fantastic in that movie.
I can imagine he was good as that.
I have a lot... I've never been into hip-hop. I've never liked the whole sort of gangster thing, whatever. But for some reason, I've always had this sort of like and respect of Snoop Dogg, just because he's just a sort of shameless weed-smoking, money-making pimp, whatever.
He doesn't pretend to be anything else. He is what he is.
Exactly. Whereas, Snoop is Snoop. You get what you get. And if anyone listens to Real Time with Bill Maher, the HBO show, he's had Snoop Dogg on there a couple of times because they both likes the weed. So, yeah, he's quite a clever chap. And this film starts with quite an impressive animated sequence, which I was not expecting, because the way it was presented to me by the Black Dog Boys was like, this is going to suck, you're going to hate us for this. I was thinking, this film's going to have no redeeming features. And the first 5 or 6 minutes, I was actually really impressed with it.
I was thinking, when I saw this, I was like, have they given you the wrong film? Because I was like, is this all animated? And it's like, I told you earlier, I looked into actually who did the animation, and in the credits, it's saying it's Madhouse. And if you look at what they've actually done, like anyone who likes anime, they did a couple of episodes of Hellrising Ultimate. They did the Highlander anime.
Oh.
They did where are we? They did Death Note. They did a lot of the Studio Ghibli films and stuff like that. So this is a powerhouse in anime. How the hell did Snoop Dogg get them involved? I don't understand why they would do this. There is a thing online saying they were short of money around this time, but we can't say for sure.
Well, it's Snoop Dogg.
I suppose he came up to him like, we're never going to get this offer again, are we? Well, they also did High School of the Dead, which I don't know if you know what that is. It's a zombie anime, and it's similar kind of style that they do this in, except that there's a lot of ladies with big boobs that they balance sniper rifles on.
Right, okay.
That's the defining feature of this, but it's very similar kind of style.
I respect they'll get a score on the boobometer.
Well, it's not like they do it once. They do it like 3 or 4 times. I'm thinking the recoil must hurt on that. But anyway, back to Snoop Dogg.
Actually, they were involved with Wicked City in their early years. Now, the thing I noticed, now this is going to be a shameful admission here, watching this animated section, especially when the big demon turns into the big demon, I remember saying, I bet that either somebody who worked on this, one of the designers, or the whole animation house, had something to do with Urotsuki Doji, Legend of the Overfiend, which I shamefully owned when I was younger. And it's this film is largely responsible for the term tentacle porn getting in the Urban Dictionary. Put it that way. It's
intriguing. Yes, you know how to sell a film. Don't you?
Yeah. It's sexual perversion and demons and people like that in animated form. But the animation is fantastic, and it was really quite disturbing because I was probably far too young to own this. But it was the days we used to sort of go and hang out down the comic shop playing Magic the Gathering, and they had all these videos on the shelf, and I wasn't 18, but they didn't really care, so yeah, you can buy it. And because I think I was just intrigued, how can a cartoon be an 18? And that's why I bought it.
Well, have I ever told you what I did between the age of 18 and 20 for a living?
Don't think so.
I worked in a certain video store up in Edinburgh.
You did. Sorry, I did know that, yeah.
I worked in an adult video store. And I can tell you, very paramountly, cartoons can be dirty.
Well, anyone seen Fritz the Cat?
I made the mistake once of looking at these things because I never did again. It blocked them out of my mind, and I've got to say there's some people in Scottish government who are dirty fuckers. I'm telling you this one for free.
Allegedly.
Allegedly, and allegedly the local vicar in West Lothian, in Blackhall, is also allegedly likes these things as well. Let's go allegedly. Cut that if you need to.
Yeah, I don't know the legal ramifications of that. You didn't name him, so I'm sure it's fine.
Yes, yeah. No, allegedly.
And it could be mistaken identity.
I'm only the guy who's in charge of the tapes.
So you learned what hentai means, that's for sure.
I learned. I grew up with people who are anime. I learned that many years before that.
Yeah, so I was pretty damn sure that this anime style was the same, and I have found a couple of links, though they're spurious, to Madhouse through the internet. But nothing definitive, but I'm sure.
Yeah, no, I
they're
tried
involved.
to find something on their website, even the Japanese, to try and say we worked on Hood of Horrors. They're not admitting it for some reason. So I can't find anything definitive apart from in the credits. So
Well, they should admit it, because that is the best part of this entire movie.
it is by a long shot.
And the end, where it goes animated again.
Whenever they go animated, like at the end of each section, it is the best bit. And it's like, couldn't have Snoop Dogg just thrown a bit more money their way? That's because it's the bit that looks the best, and it's the highest budget by a long shot.
Yeah.
So
Still, the movie it's a collection of short tales about the Hood and certain characters in the Hood and how they get their comeuppance, really. And it was nowhere near as bad as I thought it would be. But that creates a problem, because also it wasn't good either. So I ended up with it. That's why it's taken me so long to get to this, because it's like, you can't record a show and then just go, meh. Because if it was so terrible, I'd have loved ripping it apart for 30 minutes. Because it's shit. But then, if I couldn't get passionate in that way about it.
you can't gush about it for 30 minutes, but you can't slag it off at the same time.
Exactly.
It's in that middle ground.
It really is. And some of the stories are better than others, and there's some big names in it. You got Danny Trejo in there. You got Ernie Hudson. I mean, we should talk about the stories, I suppose. So the story starts. The animated thing is basically Snoop Dogg is in a car chase, firing guns, whatever, and basically a stray bullet hits his niece.
Yeah, his niece.
Yeah. And this big devil creature that this car crashes. Turns out he's a demon, sort of thing, and he says, you know, we can take it back. You can give the girl her life back, but then you belong to me, sort of thing. And he becomes this sort of agent of the devil, collecting souls.
Yeah.
And the little girl gets brought back to life. And they said that's the animated section. It's brilliantly done. But then you cuts to Snoop in his pimp outfit, walking through the hood,
gold hair and everything.
Gold hair and plaits, a hoe on each arm, with vampire teeth and much boobage on display.
Boobarella.
Yeah, and just talking about these cats in the hood and they're gonna get their comeuppance, and actually it doesn't make an awful lot of sense. And then we sort of cut to, it's a graffiti story, this one, and people tagging over other people's art.
I don't understand tagging. I had to get my brother to explain it to me. I don't understand.
It's territory play, isn't it? But this girl she does these lovely pretty graffitis called with posy with flowers, and then people tag over the front of it. She gets annoyed with them and then starts a fight, runs away. And Danny Trejo is a creepy Rastafari kind of demon-y guy.
I really liked his performance in this, actually. It was like kind of, you know, like in zombie films when you've just got like the voodoo priest.
Yes,
it was like the street version of the voodoo priest. Very likable.
It was a bit like King Willy from Predator 2.
Yes.
Yeah, exactly. So he tattoos her arm up basically, and if she tags over somebody else's graffiti, they die.
Yeah.
Which is the upshot of it. It's okay, but it's not particularly well executed. There is one decent kill.
No, there are two decent kills.
I'll go. What you go?
Okay, how can someone shooting his own dick off not be classed as a decent kill?
Wanted to fuck with me, huh? I like that your mouth is all wet and slippery, because now Daddy gonna slip something in real nice. Think I'm fucking around? That's right. Fucking swat me, shit!
Right.
Come. It's just right. But it's not exactly the kill, but the bad acting of how he reacts to it, the gun going off. And you know when he looks at the gun and looking at his blood, it's almost like you expect him to go, "Oh no, I'm dead," and he falls down really dramatically. I just laughed out loud. It's just so funny the way it was done, and just the acting was so poor. I just loved it though.
Well, the acting is terrible. I mean, the first argument she has with the big bald guy who tags over her graffiti, he's clearly, well, he probably lives in the hood, and just, I don't know, somebody.
He looks really familiar from something, and I can't remember what from. I don't know if he's a. I think he's a sports guy or something.
Got to be
I
something,
swear.
because he's sure as hell not an actor. So there are some hokey performances.
Oh, wait a minute. He was. He's an American Canadian football player. He played for the Oakland Raiders.
There you go.
How the hell did I know that?
Don't give up your day job, although you probably had to because your knees are probably shot. But anyway,
Yeah.
yeah, I doubt he worked again. So then I think the last and best kill as well is a guy running away with a bottle of 40, or a 40 bottle, you should say.
Yeah.
And trips and falls on his own bottle.
Pop Brooks volcano. Oh.
Yeah. Very, very funny prosthetics. And, it's a bark laugh moment. But
I really liked how you could almost see where they paused it. When it's falling, they paused it and replaced it with a dummy.
Yeah.
You can kind of see the cut on that. It's like, oh, beautiful. Oh.
Yeah, not seamless. And and she gets her comeuppance at the end, and I can't remember.
Well, the third kill was really disappointing. Like, you have those two really good kills, and then a guy gets strangled with the phone cord.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, come on, could you not have thought of something a bit more? Because the way she dies is, it's a bit funny. She gets a spray can put into her head.
Yeah.
And that was funny, and not funny, but it was a bit more interesting than being strangled to death.
Yeah, it must have been budgetary restraints there. I think, well, we can't afford prosthetics. What should we do? We'll strangle him.
Well, it's almost like with the bit where they turn her in. She was meant to do like an art collage for the local. It's really funny that she was a friend with the local priest.
Yeah.
And it's just like she's meant to do a collage for the community. By the way, that collage where it looked rubbish. I don't know why they were applauding it.
Yeah.
And it was this, and obviously, but it was the comeuppance was it's meant to be her blood and stuff like that, and it was meant to be her body. But the bit they needed like a big budget for, they did an anime, so it's like it's almost like they were using it as budgetary cuts or something.
Yeah. It probably would have been quite expensive to do practically. So, yeah. So that was all right. And I'm trying to remember. I'm gonna get mixed up now. Is it the old guys in the house next?
Yeah, I love this bit. This is called the Scum Lord, my favourite part of the trilogy, because it's so hokey at the same time. It's brilliant,
and it has got Ernie Hudson in, and I do like Ernie Hudson.
Yeah.
So it's 3 old war vets live in this apartment thing. The guy who owns it wants them looked after, but he when he dies, he leaves it to. I can't remember the setup exactly. So he leaves it to his. Well, son,
what it is
he has
that
to earn it.
He pays for these guys to live here, and the condition of his will is his son gets all his dad's money, but he's got to live a year with the war vets.
Yeah, to learn about life and respect,
and honour and all that, and kind of duty, and
that was it.
Which obviously was not going to end well.
No, and because the guy's a douche hat, so he comes in, kicks them all out of their rooms, takes over the top floor, renovates it, makes them basically turns them into slaves, doesn't he? For him,
he does, and also I like how they turn their bedroom into like a porn bedroom.
Yeah,
it's like stereotypical kind of like pink velvet walls and stuff. It's like, oh my god, because their names are Tex and Tiffany. So what do you expect?
Yeah, he's got this odious sort of blonde bimbo as the other half, and. They're just horrible for the whole thing, and to be honest, it's strung out way too long for what it is.
But you've got to say, the way they kill Tiffany off is wonderful.
That was the good bit. Yeah.
That was the good bit, because Tex comes in and he like cuts all their food money, and they feed their dog caviar.
Yeah, and
it's like when the soldiers going to like, actually, we're going to teach them. They go a bit, to be honest, they go a bit crazy.
Yeah.
And like, we're going to teach them a lesson. So what they do is they force feed Tiffany caviar through a nozzle.
Yes.
Until her stomach explodes.
She looks pregnant.
And she keeps on the phone saying, but the caviar is really salty. I'm really bloated. Even when she's dying, she's annoying.
Yeah. Ugh. And letting rip every 5 minutes. It's really demeaning.
And Tex has got to choose between his life and Tiffany's, and he looks at her and goes, "Baby, you got fat." And like, oh, Tiffany's dead.
Yeah, bye-bye.
You knew it.
End up dead. Sound of 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2.
Tiffy?
Oh. Poor little Pootie hadn't eaten in days. Only kind of We've been feeding Miss Tiffany all that fancy caviar he likes. Nasty, salty little fish eggs you deem more valuable than Wanda and Steven's lives.
Baby, untie me. Sorry. The salt's very bloating.
Son, your daddy wanted us to teach you honor and integrity. Life is full of choices, Junior. Time for yours. Which one of y'all ain't gonna ship out of this room alive? You or Miss Scarlet?
It's like they're really vapor. Like they're both bimbos really. They're just like nothing in their heads, and they're I like their performances because I don't know what these people are like in real life.
The end was a good payoff, but it took too long to get there, and again, a lot of the performances felt really, really forced. And I say just a few weeks ago I watched it. I can't actually remember how Tex dies. It's something to do with going down the stairs in a chair or something, isn't it?
They put him in the guy's wheelchair who died.
Oh, that was it. Yeah, one of the guys actually dies because he didn't look after him. He's got no food. That's what pushes him over the edge.
My favourite bit is they're over his dead body and they do a speech of, "It's time to go to war, boys," and they play really dramatic music. And then they play that cowboy song. And like they play cowboy music from the 1990s, like disco stuff. And it's like, beautiful. Tex is in the wheelchair. He goes down the ramp, and he killed his dad by running him over in his car, and his dad gets impaled with the bullhorns.
Yes,
so they push Tex down into the bullhorns, and it goes through his throat. Yeah. And he looks at the camera and says some really stupid line, and then dies. And it's like, wonderful.
That wonderful. I didn't even remember it clearly.
Buzz. But then they cut to really good animation of Snoop coming and collecting him collecting him and pulling him off, and like the horn being stuck in his throat.
Yeah.
Again, looks amazing.
Yeah, I think it just needs re-editing. Cut the live footage out and just do the animation stuff back to back, and you've got a great little short movie.
If I win the lottery, that's what we're doing. We're redoing the Hood of Horrors. I'm not playing
the lottery,
anyone mentions.
I just need a copy of it. I've got an edit suite.
Do a Kickstarter. I need £5 for snacks.
Do you know what? I might just do that. The whole Kickstarter campaign. Maximum anybody can give is 25p at any one time, and we need to get to a target of £5.
No, we only need a £5 because it's 2 for Tuesday at Domino's, so we're all sorted.
I love it. Right. So the next one was actually probably my favourite one, and it's the whole Eminem rap battle rip-off thing, isn't it?
Yeah.
Kid gets famous with his buddy, but the fame goes to his head, and he becomes a real asshole.
Well, it's like he prays to God, and it was trying to say, God gave you this, and actually, you're still a dick.
Yeah.
And it's like, you said you'd be a better person, but you're not.
Yeah, and sort of it culminates at this, basically the green room after a show, and he goes in there, and it's like this whole sort of alternate reality thing, and people turn into zombies and try and kill him and stuff like that. And
again, talking about The Walking Dead, really bad zombie effect. And it's like the guy who comes back on zombie. That's not how he acted when he was alive. It's like he's turned a zombie. He's basically on crack. That's almost what it was like. It's like, this is not how he was.
Crack zombie.
Didn't even look like the same person, even decomposed. So I don't know if he couldn't be bothered to come back for a second day or something. But yeah.
Yeah, but again, it's just that vague memory of that's what happened at the end, and he got his comeuppance, and I don't even remember the details of that. It was only a couple of weeks ago, really.
Well, it was. Oh, it's that because when you said, let's do it tonight, I was eating dinner. I thought, you know what, I'll rewatch it because it was pretty hazy for me as well, and it was trying to say that he had a rapping partner and he kind of set up his demise. And then the zombie guy kind of talks in, saying, "Oh, you need to go out in a really cool way. Or what's the best way to do? Double homicide of cops." So basically, ends being gunned down by police.
Oh, okay.
And he died the worst in this entire trilogy. Even being strangled by a phone cord was better than the way he went down. So, but again, after that, we had a really cool bit of animation where they had them all getting into the elevator and going down to the Hood of Horrors, and then they cut to live action again, and the Hood of Horrors looks shit in real life. But my favourite part of the entire thing was in the post credits, where they had It was Tiffany, you know, with her stomach exploded. They had her like on a barbecue, kind of like metal barbecue, and they had like vampires with forks eating the caviar out of her stomach, and she was trying to poke all her organs back in.
Oh, I missed this. Like, I'm gonna have to go back and watch that.
I only saw it on the second time through because I didn't bother watching the credits on the first time, and you got the whole song of Snoop Dogg, the whole Hood of Horrors song, about how everyone dies, which was really bad. But that's the only time you hear it the whole way through, and I didn't realise the first time through. So
I'm gonna have to go back and watch that.
That was one of the best bits, which is really bad as well. That was one of the best bits of the film. I hope I'm selling this to everyone.
You're doing a better job than I am. So, I mean, maybe actually it was a stroke of genius from the Black Dog Boys, because they gave me an impossible task with this. Instead of giving me an easy slam dunk of a terrible film.
Yeah, because if I didn't like awful movies, this wouldn't be easy. I love awful movies, and I almost like it when films aren't bad enough. When they get to that level that this is a bad film, but it's not cheesy bad, or they don't have a bottle of alcohol. Also, that guy robbed the shop, and his main goal was a bottle of beer. I was like, I thought you'd run a bit further away. Just made very little sense. These people don't act like people I know, but that's obvious. So,
right, I'm going to challenge you then with the film.
Should I be scared?
Possibly. Hold on, I'm just going to make sure I get the name right. Okay. You need to watch Seance the Summoning.
Seances? I've never heard of that, so that's... Alright, that's...
I talked about it on the last show, thanks for listening.
Hey, I'll admit I didn't listen to it. Do you know because you released it while we were at the cinema. And I was like, I'll get home and I'll listen to it, and I never did.
He's like, how did you even do that? I was like, because I don't release them, I just record them. That's because Gordon...
Hello, secret man in the background.
Yeah, Gordon...
Miss you, Gordon.
Still working. He's still running everything. He's the man. Actually, that's a really good segue. So you're going to watch Seance of Summoning, and you're going to let me know if you really like really bad movies, then this one is a challenge. Because if you can come away from it liking it, then I'm truly impressed.
Because I gave you a couple of films that I know you're going to get around to at some point, and it was like one of the films I think you'd find the Tetsuo films really interesting. So if you could, they're an interesting enough film, and they're
well, I've seen the first one years. I mean, I'm talking like 20 years ago. I saw the first one.
Yeah.
So I'm going to watch that again and watch the rest because I'm really intrigued. So, but I remember it being a total headfuck. So...
Well, it was the thing about Oculus. It wasn't that much of a headfuck, but it really made me think about it when I left. I was thinking about it, trying to piece all the bits together. And the guy who did Tetsuo did another film that I saw at Edinburgh Film Festival a couple of years ago called Kokuto. I can never say the Japanese names. Kokuto, let's just call it that. I still don't know how that film ends, and I've seen it twice.
So you've seen it end, but you don't know how it ends?
No,
that's impressive.
Basically, it's about a woman who, I'm not going to spoil it too much, but it's worth seeing. But she's not there, and her reality keeps on breaking apart, and something happens, and then at the end of the film, that kind of gets twisted aside, and it's like, was there someone else the entire time we didn't know about? And it's like I saw it with it was Jonathan, who's on Twitter, JD. I can't remember his Twitter name. I'm very sorry, Jonathan. I'm bad with names. And we were up for the film festival, and I came out the film, and he said, "How was it?" And it's like, I don't know. And I've seen it twice now, and I still don't know how it was. So
the question is, you coming to Fright Fest with me this year?
I'm trying to get. I'm glad my boss doesn't listen to this. Getting days off with my boss is like pulling teeth. It honestly is, and getting Saturday also is very difficult. So
yeah.
I'm gonna try. The thing is, it's not that far away, and so it's like it's not that difficult on the train. So it's like
exactly.
I'm gonna try.
Cool,
but we shall try.
I'm gonna try as well. I mean, I can't do the whole Thursday thing, but I can do. I could do from Friday night through to Monday probably. So.
I can probably do that as well. It's just trying to. It's with my boss. It's getting to the point where I wait until he needs me to do something, then I ask. That's what you do.
Talking about, as we were just talking about our stupid Japanese special, there is an article in the Scream magazine I was talking about which I'm going to read later. It's called The Crazy World of J. Splatstick Master Noboru Iguchi.
Ah.
He is the maestro behind Zombie-Ass Toilet of the Undead and F is for Fart from the ABCs of Death. And there's quite a few of his that I haven't seen, which I now must absolutely see. One of which is Mutant Girl Squad. So
Sounds interesting.
we'll save that for the Japanese bit.
Okay, I'm going to have to add that to the list.
He's a very strange chap.
Well,
So, I
sorry,
was going to link to Gordon, wasn't I?
Yes.
On this. Gordon actually, a couple of weeks back, sent in a response to a certain film that I badgered him to watch. And also he's updating us on his book listening. So, for those of you who are missing the wonderful Scottish tones of the maestro of the Little Pod of Horrors, here are those tones for you now.
Okay, this is the third fucking time I've tried to record this comment, and I keep pressing fucking delete instead of save. Jesus. Hello, Mr. Goggs. God, I'm going to start again. Hello, Mr. Boys. This is Mr. Goggs sending in a comment for the Little Pod of Horrors. Ah, how I miss thee, and how I miss being on the show, hosting the show, all that fun stuff. You did an amazing job with the last show. Casey being a guest host. Fantastic first pick, sir, and can't wait to see what you do next. So, what have I been doing? Okay, well, I have finished listening to Pandemic, a novel by Scott Sigler, as read by Phil Gigante, something like that. I loved the story. I loved the whole Infected trilogy. This one was a little bit, it dragged a little bit for me. There's a particular section, I can't remember when it was, around about 3/5, 2/3, something like that, through the book, that takes place at the hotel and kind of lingers on from there a little bit. I think I can do that easily without spoilers, because it's very vague, unless you know what I'm talking about. I think that whole part could really have been slimmed down or cut out completely, and it really wouldn't have lost the essence of the story. I loved the twists and different kind of turns that it took all throughout. I loved the kind of character developments that was going on from some of the characters that had been there since day one. And I also loved how the infection also changed, so you never quite knew what was coming next with regards to the infection. So that was pretty awesome. What else? I'd be really interested to see what they do with this one. If the whole trilogy does get greenlit for a TV show, this is where it could all go really, really wrong in TV land. I think whoever does the show will need to spend or save a lot of money to do the last few episodes on this one. They'll need it all for their CGI or practical effects, and it could go really disastrously wrong. And I'm fingers crossed that if he does get it greenlit, he gets the team behind him and the money behind him to do it right. So fingers crossed, and we'll see what happens. That's pretty much it from the audiobooks. I've been listening to a different audiobook series after I finished that one. I'm really into the audiobooks now. For some reason, I cannot get in a car without having one on, which is pretty cool. It usually takes me about 2 or 3 weeks to listen to one, so I don't have to wait long before my next Audible credit. I'm currently listening to the Joe Ledger books. If you remember from a few shows ago, I talked about reading Patient Zero by Jonathan Maybury. And I'm now on book 4 of that series. Not really horror related. The first one kind of was with zombies, but it's more on a thriller turn it's taken. Some horrific aspects, depending on your take on horror, but I think it's more thriller. I have started reading a book called The Colony. I think it's a series of books. I haven't really looked into it too much. It was a kind of special you could download from Amazon. And it's the Colony Genesis by Michael Brent Collins. Book 1 of the Colony Saga. So I don't know how many that is. From the first few chapters, I think I'm about 25% of the way through, somewhere like that, 30%. It appears to be just a zombie book. So I don't know where they're going to go or what the interesting take is on the zombie genre. But it appears to be zombies. Rage zombies. if you want to kind of use them from 28 Days Later, that kind of thing. But I'll keep you posted as to how I get through with that one. From a movie perspective, the only one that I've really watched within the horror genre, unless you count Frozen, because that was shit. Sorry. Is You're Next. I can say this because I'm safely thousands of miles away from you and not on the other end of a Skype conversation. I liked it, but I didn't quite see the kind of fascination from people with it. Maybe a little bit overblown, maybe a little bit overhyped. I don't know. An interesting take on the subgenre of home invasion movies. I think that's one thing we should definitely put on the list, is do a little home invasion top 5. I mean, there only really is 5, but I'm sure it's more than that. Or a little special on home invasions, because I love that kind of subgenre. I think there's a couple of excellent movies like The Strangers and Eel, which I watched both of them at Fright Fest actually. So maybe I'm holding them in higher regard than maybe I should. I don't know. But watching them in a dark theatre with the best picture you can see and the best sound you can have, in a really quiet room, and you're just on the edge of your seat and you're tired and your emotions are raw and all that fun stuff, kind of heightens everything up and just makes reasonable movies awesome. But I hold those ones in high regard, and I think I try and compare everything to those movies, maybe unfairly. I did like the protagonist in this one. It's great that she's a woman and can really kick ass. Interesting backstory to her. I guess it's a good thing that she didn't have to get her boobies out. In fact, I don't think there was any boobies in this movie. Was there? Can't remember. No, there was, wasn't there? In that bathroom scene. Yes. Yeah. Think that's where it possibly all started to go wrong for me. That was a completely unnecessary scene. I don't quite see why it had to be there. I guess it was showing that this son could be a dick, but I kind of got that from 5 minutes before with his discussion and his kind of hello brother kind of thing, that this guy was just a complete cock. But I think that was the big thing I didn't like about the movie, was I really didn't care for any of the family that was being attacked. I couldn't give a shit if they lived or died. In fact, I wanted them to all die really, really quickly. It was... I don't know if they were deliberately written that way. I don't know. I'm sure they were deliberately written that way. Because it was an obvious choice to make them kind of, oh look, we're so rich and we don't give a fuck, and I don't know. Just I did not like them at all. Where to put the movie though? Ended pretty good. I could have probably ended it maybe 5 or 10 seconds sooner, left it a little bit more open-ended. And that's pretty much it. Oh no, there was boobies at the beginning, because there was a sex scene at the beginning, wasn't there? Yeah. Yeah, it was an unnecessary... Yeah, I didn't like that. It was grubby. I didn't like that. It was grubby and yeah. Yeah. No. I didn't like this movie. Can you tell I didn't like this movie? I'd probably say, if you like the home invasion subgenre, give it a watch. If you like the fact that boys and I don't agree on things, give it a watch and you can tell us where we fall. I probably would give it 2.5 stars. No, 2.5 stars? What was that? 50%? Oh, I don't know. Is that a bit harsh? 55%, 60%? Oh, I don't know. 57.5, 57.8. I don't know where to put it actually. But yeah, the more and more I think about it, the more I really didn't like it. I may have to give it a few months and then go back and rewatch it. Maybe at night time when no one else is around, because I watched it in the morning. So I don't know if that makes things differently. Sorry. You can chastise me and tell me I'm wrong, or point out all the bits that I need to go back and rewatch, or have a think about it and let me know where I went wrong. Sorry. Anyway, keep up the great work, sir, and I will hopefully speak to you soon. And I'll keep you posted with how I get with books and other movies as I finish them. Bye-bye!
Yeah, so basically, as we've established many times before on this show, Gordon has no taste in movies whatsoever. So he still doesn't like The Evil Dead, and now he thinks You're Next is not a very good film. He didn't hate it, did he?
No, he didn't hate it, but okay, I'm gonna have to go with him. I kind of agree with him on the film.
No,
I'm sorry.
Get out.
You've invited me on your show, but no.
Honestly, you like the little bod of the little. Oh, I just you like our show. Yeah, thank you very much. You liked the Hood of Horrors,
yeah,
but you don't like You're Next.
Don't worry. The amount of times I will say to someone I don't like a film, and they'll quote something I like. It's just like I went and saw Zombie Stag Night and all that kind of stuff, and
that was dreadful.
I loved it.
No, it was so bad. It was dreadful. It wasn't so bad. It was good.
I know. I don't know what. I have a thing for really bad films. It's my guilty pleasure, and I enjoy it to the maximum. And it's like.
But you like some good films, but I don't know. But maybe it was a cinema experience. Did you see You're Next at the cinema?
No.
No. See, I think maybe it was a cinema thing that carried me along with it, and it is the whole. The thing that winds me up with slasher type movies is when you're shouting at the protagonist, "Don't go upstairs, don't go in there, don't go out there, get a gun, pick that weapon back up." And at all the points where I would normally have said that in this movie, she did something. She either did what I was about to tell her to do, or she did something better than I was going to tell her to do, and that was refreshing. I know it was cliched in a lot of the scares and things like that.
Yeah.
But overall, I found it really quite refreshing. Sorry, just nearly trashed the place.
Well, have you seen that photo that's floating around online? It's like a little cartoon. It's this woman saying, "Oh, this basement's haunted. Am I going to go into it? No." And it cuts to the next screen. It goes, "Then she went into accounting." It's kind of like what you do with horror films. So it's like the logical horror film that never happens.
Oh, there we go. But I'm glad he liked Pandemic as well, because I did enjoy it. I know he's coming from about the sort of slowdown and towards the middle. I didn't find it that much of a slowdown. I just thought it was like taking a breather, and I think at that point I was ready to take a breather, so I didn't find it.
I really think with that sometimes it depends if you take a break within certain portions or not, because if you power through it, I think the experience is different if you just listen to it like in bits. Because sometimes I find that if I take breaks, I think that I think it's slowed down or the pace has gone down. But if I just go straight through it, I just think it's consistent. I don't know if that's just me.
Yeah, and I did mainline it in about 3 days. So
and I understand. I really like what you're saying about audiobooks. I found that recently as well. Whenever I go somewhere, I have to listen to an audiobook, and I kind of listen to it in the same by the time I finish one, I'm ready for the next credit, and it's kind of like it's really good. And I think the thing with Audible is, though, some of the reviews on Audible are so misleading.
Yes.
And I think that's I ran into that really quickly, like people saying, "Oh, I like this and I like this and this was really good." Saying, "No, it's not.
No, it's not."
And the voice acting's really bad.
I decided to revisit some classics. So my second to last credit, I got a James Herbert book.
Yeah.
Because I realised there's quite a few of his I don't know, and I'm gonna struggle to remember what it was called now. Creed. It was called Creed. It was about a paparazzo. I always thought it was paparazzi, but apparently that's the plural term. And it was crap, honestly. I mean, the story's terrible, and it'd be given like 4 stars for story, and I'm like, really? And then this month I've gone for a Graham Masterton book, because I think he wrote a book called Charnel House, which I read when I was a teenager, and I mainlined it in one night. It was only a small book, but I didn't put it down until I'd finished it, and I loved it, and it was a creepy ghost story.
Yeah.
So I thought, brilliant, I'll check this out, and this book is called Tengu. Now
that name rings a bell.
Well, it's 13 hours long. I'm 3 hours into it, and I've realised the impression I'm getting is that Graham Masterton is a bit of a. He's one of those who should. He's halfway between horror and porn, and he can't decide what he wants to be, and it just comes off as a bit misogynist. So it's like any female character who is introduced into the story, he mentions their breast size within a paragraph.
What? Is he kind of repressed a bit?
I think so. I mean, I don't know when this was written. It might be. I mean, I get the impression it's a very 80s book. And it's interesting. You hear that in a couple of authors. I listened to another one, and it was Mark Olden. He writes a lot about Japanese culture and martial arts and things. And I read a book of his called Day Show years ago, and I really enjoyed it. It's about ninjas and samurais, bit in the future, bit in the past.
Yeah.
So I downloaded another one of his. It's called Giddy, which is funny because that's what the Spanish call tourists. So I look really giddy. And again, just it's a really misogynistic book, and it just made me quite uncomfortable. I was thinking, I don't think I'm going to download any more books that were written in the 80s.
Tengu is a kind of, it's called Heavenly Dog in Japanese mythology. That's why it sounds familiar.
Okay, yeah,
So
some kind of demon, basically.
Type of legendary creature consisted of a Shinto god and supernatural being, apparently.
Yeah. So, well, I will report back on how that book ends and whether he gets any less misogynistic about things towards the end of it. But,
Well, I've noticed this as well. Like, I like a lot of like supernatural kind of like thriller kind of audiobooks, and a lot of them they seem to have unnecessary sex scenes in them. Like a lot recently. Even I like even like the Dresden Files, which I like. Some of the kind of like detail they go into, I think, is a bit takes away from the story.
Yeah.
And I was listening to like the Crimes Against Magic books. And the first one, there's like a chapter sex scene, and I was thinking, we really want to get back to the story now, because the story's really cool. I don't need to know that. It's kind of, keep that in the bedroom, guys. I'm not interested.
I'm actually interested in one that's been written more recently as to whether the accepted vernacular has changed, because one I've noticed in both of these books I've just gone for recently, you get lines like, she stretched on the bed, and the pinkness of her sex became visible. You're like,
no, I've heard that recently.
You call it her
heard
sex?
that recently.
I'm just like, no, it's terrible. I don't know what word I'd prefer, but it just makes me so uncomfortable. And the worst thing is, it's been really feckin' hot the last couple of days, and I'm driving through Townsville, just listening to my audiobook. You stop at some traffic lights. There's like a mum and a kid there, and going, and she grabbed the shaft of his penis. You're like, no, turn it down, turn it down.
They'll think you're listening to 50 Shades of Grey in your
Exactly. So I'm 3 hours into a 13-hour book, and there's been 3 or 4 sex scenes already. I'm like, oh, honestly, it's worse than a bloody Game of Thrones book.
I've not read the Game of Thrones book, but it's awkward enough sometimes on screen. I can't imagine what it's like reading it.
Well, at least with R.R. Martin, he does like his sex scenes. He's a bit of a dirty old man, but because the books are so brutal, he's not ashamed of any words.
No.
So you don't get this kind of awful... And he looked at her sex. It's like, no, he'll drop the C word instead, which is, you know, a lot of people find offensive. But I think, well, at least it's descriptive. At least it's honest. At least it's upfront. And society's a lot more like that now. So, you know, just call it what everybody would call it, I guess. I
think with Martin as well, that he doesn't... There's a lot more female nudity, but there's also male nudity mixed in.
Yes.
It's not like it's like a big dearth of it. There's actually... He'll give you frontal male, frontal female. Even though I hear that a couple of the actors from Game of Thrones are kind of, I don't know if it's a rumour or not, saying they don't want to do as many nude scenes anymore. I think the woman who plays Daenerys Targaryen doesn't want to. I heard that she doesn't want to do any, because she did one in Series 3 where she got out of the bath and she was naked, basically. I heard she didn't like that.
Oh, I thought she only did it in Season 1 to establish the character. And, right, that's it. We're done with that now. I'm going to keep my clothes on for the rest of the series.
Well, she did it, I think, it was when she got her army of Unsullied, and she was talking to one of the, I think it was one of the assassins, or the sellswords, and I think he was talking to her, and she just got straight out the bath. I think that's the last time you saw any major nudity in it. That's ended, and I know it's not really horror. That was a very good ending to Game of Thrones. I like it a lot.
Yes. We can't say anything, but yes, I do.
I like it a lot. And I was really disappointed. It turns out he doesn't shit gold.
Can't say that.
Sorry.
It doesn't spoil anything. It doesn't spoil anything.
I thought of that this morning. I was like, yes, that's actually quite funny.
So, I suppose we should wrap it there. I apologise for so much talk of sex. I don't know where that came from.
I can't. People have a really bad opinion of me now.
It just seems to follow you. Some people will be envious, I guess.
Maybe I made a promise at a church and I didn't live up to them, and this is how the kind of Hood of Horrors punishing me, is making me follow me around. This is my Snoop Dogg story.
Yep. Somebody with a big hat and gold plaits comes out of the shadows on your way home. You know you're in trouble.
Oh, because he also, talking about Oculus, he also did, like, every time, like, it was revealed the person was actually Snoop Dogg, the eyes did a really bad glowing, like, Gould effect from Stargate. and it's like really knockoff version of it. It just looked like they put like tinted like amber tints on him. So, yeah.
Oh dear. Well, I'm just glad it's done and I can move on and get some more shows recorded, and so hopefully pick up the.
I'd like
pace
to
a
know,
little bit.
Black Dog, if you've got any other films like this, please tell me because I love this.
Yeah, I'll give you Matt's email address. Just keep him the fuck away from me, all right?
I'll find a way to make him watch him. That's fine.
Yeah. So thank you, Lee and Darren. There we are. We put that to bed. And thank you, Gordon, for the audio comment. We haven't had sort of much email from you listener types out there of late. So if you've got some feedback on any of these subjects and you want to send it in, please send it to thelittlepodofhorrors@gmail.com. That'll be on the end credit bit anyway. Hit us up on Facebook. The Facebook group is quite active. We do post on it fairly regularly. Twitter, not so much, just because I think Twitter's getting defunct because of the character limit on it.
Yeah, I think it really is, and I think the conversation limit, and I think everyone knows each other on Facebook as well, and it's just an easy way to share it as well, and you can get it easier on your phone.
I think the only the difficulty with Facebook is not so easy to share with other publications, podcasts, books, producers, whatever. We get a lot of follows on Twitter, so I mean it's a good place to start relationships. I mean, like with Scream Magazine, that started through Twitter, and with Space Monsters Magazine as well, that was Twitter sort of thing. Well, actually no, I met him at Fright Fest, but then it was Twitter. But yeah, whatever you want to use, get in touch, send us audio comments as well, we like those. So and Matt, you will be back. We will do a Japanese special.
Yeah, I just gonna wait for the text when you watch one of these films in particular, and you're gonna go, "What the hell have you given me?" I think when you watch Suicide Circle, you might go, "What the hell is this?"
Do you know what's really sad is that's the one I started with, but I do reiterate that you've given me some without subtitles.
I'm sure Suicide Circle did have subtitles.
I will check.
I don't know. Maybe if it's because I've got certain programs on mine. Maybe because it works on. I don't know. But on some of it, you don't need the subtitles for, like the opening scene. You don't need that for.
Okay. Oh, would that be the subway scene?
Yeah.
Yeah, I saw that.
And there's a couple more in there.
Okay.
And it's with kids as well, which is kind of the limit of horror as well. You can do whatever you want to adults, but kids, don't touch kids, man.
Yeah, and definitely leave the dog alone. Anyway, on that note, we're going to bugger off.
Yeah.
So, thank you for listening, everybody.
Bye-bye.
And thank you, Matt.
Thank you.
See you soon. Bye.
If you would like to send an email to the show, please do so at thelittlepodofhorrors@gmail.com. Also, why not go along to the website at www.thelittlepodofhorrors.com, and from there you can find links to our Twitter, Facebook, Google+, forum and blog page. Thanks for listening.